Beth Jagtiani.
Here.
Whitney.
Here.
Schwartz. Larissa.
Present.
Noah Shapiro.
Here.
I'm going to miss hearing that. And we should note that JC still has COVID, unfortunately, sadly. And Navin will be in soon. He's in another meeting in another room. And I'm David Cohen, and I'm also present. Staff roll call. Do you want to just announce yourselves, or you want me to call you guys? Or
It's
you
okay,
call,
you already did the roll call.
You call. Yeah. Too late. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Okay, Curtis Castle, Public Works Director.
Correct.
Treya Bezdesny, Assistant Engineer with Public Works.
Present.
And I'm Glenn Mickich. I'm new, and I'm in the planning department. I'm the senior planner.
Welcome to all of you. Excellent job on the roll call. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. Eli, Daniel, Noah, you're the youngest ones in the room. Carol, you're the 4 youngest in the room. All right, just the 3 of them. But please, everyone, rise, and our high school students will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is to our right, your left. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks very much. I now will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
All right, is there a second?
I will second.
Larissa will second. All right, all in favor of approving of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I will also entertain a motion for approval of the meeting summary from our previous meeting, December 5th. And I'll entertain a motion for that. No, you should abstain.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting summary from our December 5th, 2023 meeting. Right.
I will second that.
Terrific. All in favor, say aye.
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 And
Any abstentions?
any abstentions? All right, motion passes. How about the mission statement? Want to read the mission?
Sure.
All right, it's right here.
Yep. The mission of the Environmental Commission of the City of Calabasas is to advise the City Council regarding the stewardship of our environment as it affects the character of the community and quality of life of our residents. We strive to balance those elements that influence the degree to which our community sustains its social, economic, and physical environment while maintaining and enhancing our natural and cultural resources.
Thank you very much. We're going to move into oral communication, public comment. There are cards in the back of the room. We also just have a small group. So if anyone does want to say anything publicly, you can raise your hand, get recognized as well at this point. But we are going to allow some public communication. Before we open it up for that, I just want to mention we're going to adjust the order of things slightly today because one of our Carl Gibbs Environmental Excellence Award winners we're hoping to have joining us, Chef Tall, and he's got to get a break from his restaurant. So we're hoping that he's going to make it. And one of our student reps is also in another meeting. So we're going to be a little bit flexible on the agenda, and we may push some things further down to allow people some time. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move right into agenda items. Commissioner comments. Anybody up here? Noah, take it away.
I would just like to say that the creek tour that I went to was very interesting for me for a little, because it was my first time actually seeing the creek, so thank you, Treya. And then I also wanted to say for the environmental forum, I talked to a few teachers at school in multiple or are willing to do a quiz pass for students that go and answer questions. So for the environmental forum, if any of you guys have questions that you specifically want students to answer, please let me know.
Great. Thank you very much, Noah. Whitney.
Yes, I will ditto Noah's comment about the interesting creek tour. And I'd like to say that Treya was absolutely stellar in her presentation. She was confident, smart, and very pleasant. I really enjoyed learning from you. You know a lot. I was appreciative.
Excellent. I think there's a nice photo of her in the acorn. Any other comments? Larissa, Beth?
No, sir.
I also will thank you for that. I missed it. My wife had COVID. So but I understand there will be another one. So please keep us all informed about that. We've got a lot of very exciting things going on. This is really the exciting time of year for the Environmental Commission. Starting now, we've got our Environmental Forum coming up. You're going to hear more about all this, but we've got Arbor Day, we've got Earth Day, we've got a lot of things going on at the high school, things going on at the parks, and just a lot of collaboration. Very excited about staff hirings and just the fact that the city's opening up and that there's a lot of environmental programming going on. So as I've said in the past, I'm encouraging people to, community members, to take part. And I've specifically been reaching out to people that I know who live within our city to get them to join one or more of our subcommittees, and I'm going to continue to do that. Eli, maybe you can get your mom or dad to join one of our subcommittees. We've got subcommittees on native plants, climate action, water conservation, public forum, Arbor Day, Earth Day, student recycling, pumpkin festival, student member task force, green business, and the battery subcommittee, some of which you'll hear about tonight. A lot of very exciting dynamic things, and it really should be more than just the 5 of us plus 2 active students sitting up here. It really should be a lot more participation from people in the community. Carol, if you know any seniors who really are environmentally minded, please let us know. We've got lots of opportunities, and we really would like more participation. Those are my comments. I am now going to read, any other comments? Sorry. No. I'm going to read a statement on the use of rodenticides. And I just want to make a comment that at our last meeting, there was actually a public comment about rodenticides, the anticoagulant rodenticides, which I appreciate that someone from the city, from a citizen was here and was frustrated that there are still anticoagulant rodenticides being used in parts of our city. So I'm really proud of the fact that the city is responding to that and that we really are listening and doing our best. We as a city are doing our best to be responsive. The Environmental Commission would like to remind everyone that anticoagulant rodenticides are prohibited statewide. In 2018, the city of Calabasas supported a resolution of the League of California Cities, which declared its commitment to support and repeal of preemption in California Food and Agriculture Code 11501.1 that prevented local governments from regulating pesticides. In 2023, the state made it much easier for everyone. They placed a statewide moratorium on first-generation anticoagulants, which are those containing diphenhydramine. Studies have linked diphenhydramine not only to rodent deaths, but to larger animals higher up the food chain. For more information, you can visit the websites of the state's Department of Pesticide Regulation, Poison Free Malibu, and of course, Poison Free Calabasas. So, thank you to the city for preparing that comment, and I want to remind everyone that if you're out and you see the bait boxes using the anticoagulant rodenticide, let the city know, let the vendors know. A lot of times people have those boxes out because they just don't realize that those poisons are disastrous for our environment and our ecosystem. We are now at the third and most important item on our agenda, the recognition of recipients of the Environmental Excellence Award. And it'll be followed by a 3-minute presentation by the awardees, followed by some photos. So the first of the awards, oh. I may switch it around. Are you tall? No.
That's my fault.
Are you short? Right, good. Well done. All right, welcome. The first award is, I'm going to let Whitney talk a little bit about this. Whitney and Larissa talk a little bit about this. But the first award is, I'll read this real quickly for everyone. It says, the Carl Gibbs Environmental Excellence Award is presented to a student battery recycling company, ASBRC, in recognition of their commitment to enhance the environment as demonstrated by collecting and recycling household batteries and collaborating with groups throughout the city to raise awareness about the importance of recycling batteries. And it's from the Environmental Commission, February 6th, 2024. And I'm sure that we actually formed a subcommittee. That's how much we were inspired by you. And I'm going to let the two people on the subcommittee speak about this.
Congratulations. I hope this is one of many awards that follow you throughout your path. As you volunteer in high school, college, and in your communities thereafter. I was so impressed by your project that it's now my hope that the city adopts a battery recycling box. And I have a presentation that will come later. And it's important for me, if the city does accept this battery box, like, collection box, that there's a story about the two of you on the box, because you two are environmental warriors. You've made a huge impact on your own community, and you have inspired me, and I truly, truly hope that the city council allows us to distribute battery boxes, just like we do the compost bins. I'm so lit up, so totally inspired by what you guys did, and I just really, truly hope that the commissioners and the city council take this up as a must-do right-away project.
I will echo those same words. I can't be more proud of all the young people that show up here. I really think you guys, it took more than just an idea. You had to get to work and figure it out and maneuver through some probably difficult areas there. You did it, you stuck with it, and I hope it just pays off and you keep doing what you do because you're remarkable. You stand out, okay? Just know that we're so proud of you, and I'm really glad that we can have you in our city and say we know you.
Thank you both. So you actually, I don't know if it looks like you might have a little presentation. If you guys would be kind enough to, up to the podium. If you could step up to the podium for us and speak for a few minutes, give us a little information, maybe a little background even on the project, and and then we'll actually formally give you the award and take some photos.
All right, so we would like to start by first thanking Carol Davis for nominating us for this award. We wouldn't have the opportunity to be up here talking to you guys today and sharing our story if it wasn't for her. So we'd like to really thank you, and we really appreciate you for the nomination.
And then David Cohen, thank you so much for taking us under your wing. We met over the summer, I believe, when Noah was there too, and you basically guided us. You helped us form this battery committee, which we're really excited to be a part of. And you also helped connect us with easier methods of cheaply disposing our batteries in bulk, which was really helpful. So thank you so much for that. And thank you to the whole committee for voting us and motivating.
We'd like to share that we will continue to push and spread awareness about battery recycling, whether it's through our Earth Day drives, or even though we are seniors now, and so we will be graduating, but we do have younger siblings that we will be trying to continue this program through, who will be incoming freshmen next year. So even though you may not be working directly with us in the future, we definitely hope to keep this mission alive and continue to pursue battery recycling one battery at a time.
So yeah, you guys are gonna be dealing with Adam and Liam next year, but we're gonna be taking our talents to our respective colleges and maybe continuing it there if it permits. So yeah, once again, thank you all
Thank you.
For recognizing our hard work. It makes it like all feel worth it, and helping motivate us down a greener path. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to give you the award. I do want to mention just two things. One, the whole reason we have this subcommittee is so that when you guys go off, this continues. And that is really the measure of success. It's not just that you created it, it's that you created something that's going to continue. And these two fine commissioners are committed. You've inspired people. I mean, that's really a testament to what you've accomplished.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much. We'll get some pictures real quick, and I'll give you the award.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we taking pictures?
I'm fine. All right, good job, guys. I'll be down when you do the next one.
All right. Okay. We're just waiting for.
Yeah, I understood.
Do you guys want individuals before?
Should we get
Individual photos?
Send to your whatever colleges or whatever you.
With the logo?
Yeah, I can do it right here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, sure.
It's good. It's so good that it's beef and cheese.
Corinne, I'm going to send you the link.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. This award, by the way, for years, this award has been given to leaders, environmental leaders, the Las Virgenes School District Environmental Stewardship Committee, Dr. Deborah Bennett at the high school, businesses around the city. So, I mean, this is really prestigious. So, and Carl Gibbs, the name at the top, was on this environmental commission. He passed away. But he was on the initial environmental commission, and he was on this for about 15 years. So he was a remarkable man and community leader, just as you guys are. So thank you. All right. We're still on. So we will hold off on the second. Yeah, they should. They're environmental. You got to stay for the whole meeting. You guys you're welcome to leave, or you can stay. There is still another recognition, but we're going to wait and to hope that recognee makes it. So the next time I say, "Are you tall?" If somebody finally says yes, then we're going to be in business. All right, let's move on to the fourth item on the agenda, the presentation on the Ringe Dam by Cal Trout.
Yes, Chair. So Cal Trout is here with us on Zoom to give this presentation about the Ringe Dam, which is a dam. If you go down Las Virgenes Creek, it turns into Malibu Creek, and there's a dam there that's blocking everything on its way down to the ocean.
Great.
Hey everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, nice background.
Excellent. All right, let me share my screen real quick. All right. All right, we seen it okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for having me, everyone. My name is RJ Van Sant. I'm actually with State Parks, not Cal Trout, but Cal Trout's one of our partners on the project. And as was mentioned, I'm going to talk about the Malibu Creek Ecosystem Restoration Project, or AKA Ringe Dam Removal Project. So like it was mentioned, it's in Malibu Creek, about 3 miles up from the ocean. So here's a quick shot of location-wise where it is. So you can see Ringe Dam's kind of near the south there.
I'm sorry, RJ. Really quick,
Yep.
could you put it in full screen for us?
Oh, it's not in full screen. I'm looking at the. Sorry, I must be sharing the wrong side.
It's all good.
Let's see. Sorry. Sorry. Let me stop sharing and redo this. Sorry.
It's all good.
Is that better? Or are we still seeing the other one?
Still seeing the other one?
Huh. It's on my screen here. Technology.
Yeah.
Um,
Must be like a drone shot.
she working.
Do you go by Richard or RJ? Sorry. Do you prefer?
RJ, but you know, Richard is my given name, if you will, so that also works.
May we just ask you questions while you're doing?
Sure.
Is that cool?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So just because a couple up here we're just having a little discussion. So some of us have walked by the top of this. It's actually in Malibu Creek State Park, right?
Correct. Yep.
But can you see it, or is it?
Well, I don't know why it's not showing.
Or is it?
No, not that big.
Showing. I got
It's okay. We
presenter
can
on my
still
side.
see it pretty well
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
The drop down.
Yeah. Why is it? Let me try one more thing, and then
There's a
that
lake
doesn't
up
work. We'll just have
above
to go for it.
that has like lily pads. And
Yeah.
all.
Oh, I get it.
So like the trail walks by the dammed part.
Yeah, let's try this. How about that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Terrific. Perfect.
Yay! Okay. Sorry.
No problem.
All right. So I was saying, here's a kind of a drawn back image of where we're at, where the project is. So as I mentioned, it's in Malibu Creek. It's about 3 miles north upstream of the creek from Malibu Lagoon. So that you can see the place mark here. And then there's actually 8 other little smaller crossings and dams, if you will, so very much smaller than Ringe, that are actually a part of the project too. And then this yellow squiggly outline is actually the Malibu Creek watershed. So just to give a little bit of context of where we're at and what the larger watershed is looking like. And that watershed, 2/3 about is in LA County, and about a third of it is in Ventura County. It's about 110 square miles, so it's not a big one. For context, I was just looking earlier, the LA River is about 10 times larger, which is a big watershed, and then Topanga Creek is actually about 5 times smaller. But it is the second largest in the Santa Monica Bay, with Bayona Creek being a little bit larger, and there's about 90,000 people in this watershed. So within the Malibu Creek watershed, there's many different elements that make it unique and important. One is that it's largely open space, which is pretty remarkable, having it being so close to Los Angeles and big urban development areas. So it's about 75% undeveloped, mostly because of the preserved open spaces like state parks has, and National Park Service with the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. And there's lots of other organizations that have open space that's dedicated. It's in a biodiversity hotspot. So it's just like all of Southern California, really. There's because of our unique geology and geography and weather, there's an amazing number of species. And with that, and with our urban development, a lot of them are actually endangered, unfortunately. There's also tons of cultural and historic resources. As we know, we're so close to Hollywood and LA, so there's lots of past filming and movies, but then there's also lots of cultural resources from Native American tribes that were in this area for thousands of years. The watershed, as I mentioned, for endangered species, super important. So there's quite a few endangered species in this watershed in particular. And southern steelhead trout is one of the main ones that we are focused on for this project, but there's other ones like red-legged frog, headwater goby, pond turtle, and a few others. And then we also have at the end of the watershed, the lagoon, where everything drains to, Surfrider Beach and the lagoon itself, which is high in tourism. So you have all these different unique interests. Sometimes they're competing, sometimes they're not, but it's really what makes this area pretty unique. So here's a little bit zoomed in here of the dam itself. You can see that inset photo. So as I mentioned again, 3 miles up from the lagoon in Malibu Creek. So it's in this really steep, narrow canyon. You can see Malibu Canyon Road, which turned into Las Virgenes Road on that left of that inset photo. So tons of traffic going by that area. And you can't actually see the dam from the road, but there's a little turnout that you can walk, and it's like a minute walk or so, and you can get a really good vantage point. So it's pretty interesting. I think lots of people drive by there and actually don't even know that it's there. And as was mentioned earlier, it's in Malibu Creek State Park. So in addition to the dam removal and the dam being a big part of the project, there's also these upstream barriers that are really actually very important also. Even though the dam is the large scale, grandiose structure, these other ones are pretty important because they actually open up a lot of potential habitat for steelhead and other species that just removing the dam would not have. So these other tributaries, or these other crossings, are on tributaries. So the main ones are on Cold Creek in that Montano community, and then the other ones are actually on Las Virgenes Creek. And they're different owners. So some are on Malibu, some are on state parks in Malibu Creek State Park. Some are on county right-of-ways. Some are in private HOA, like the Montanito community. And actually 2 of them are, I believe, City of Calabasas or flood control, or LA County. I'm actually not totally sure offhand, but the one at Lost Hills Road and the one at Meadow Creek Lane are in the City of Calabasas. And so those are other crossings, although one of those looks like there was some past fish passage work that has been done that looks like that crossing is actually really good for fish passage, which is awesome. And so it's something that we may not have to look at or to have to consider improving. So a little history on the dam, the whole Ringe area, the Ringe Ranch, super interesting. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. There's actually a really interesting book that I read pretty recently. That the book's not recent, but I read it, The King and Queen of Malibu, which just goes into a really cool history of the Ringe family and the Malibu Ranch and their struggles for keeping it pristine and keeping it to themselves. But so they built this dam from 1924 to 26, so only 2 years, which is pretty remarkable. Constructing something like this today would take probably decades. And they constructed it for their own irrigation and agricultural use. So they used the water downstream for watering crops and orchards for their own use. So they weren't selling anything or weren't selling water or anything like that. It was just all for their own personal use. The dam's about 100 feet tall and 140 feet wide, and it's a concrete structure. So you can see that top photo, the left part is the actual spillway, and there's 4 gates, or used to be gates, where they could lift and they could lower and open those gates, which control water. Those have been damaged many decades ago, and so the water just flows over that spillway. And on the right side is that concrete arch dam. They built the dam, as I mentioned, for storage, for their own water use. Unfortunately for them, it was almost full of sediment within 20 years. So they went from 575 to 75 acre feet of water. So substantial, I think like somewhere around like 90% loss of water holding capacity in just 20 years. I like to think if had they known how quickly it would have filled up, they probably never would have actually built it. They still served some water supply until the mid 60s or so. They tried to remove sediment numerous times. I think actually did. It was just never really successful. It would fill up within a few years. This watershed is just a really highly productive from a sediment standpoint. The steep topography and it just the type of soils are highly erosive. So when we get flows, stuff is coming down. You know, as we know with Malibu Canyon Road, for instance, anytime we get a big storm or a few big storms, stuff is rolling down that hill onto the road. So it's highly productive from a sediment standpoint. So by 67, the dam was actually decommissioned. They finally said, all right, we're done. It's not serving a use. And then in 76, it actually was acquired as part of Malibu Creek State Park. Now, that photo on the bottom left, those 2 guys are actually fishing for steelhead at the base of the dam in the 40s. So steelhead were still coming up to the dam to that point. And we're in the last case of steelhead that we have right now in Malibu Creek. What Malibu Creek was 2017, I believe. So they were there for a long time, but the dam completely blocked any movement. So they could go 3 miles from the coast to the dam, but no more, which is a significant reduction in their past habitat and their ability to really reproduce successfully. So we're pretty fortunate. We have some pretty interesting and some decent historic records and photographs for the dam. So it gives us some good context, some good baseline information. So this larger picture on the right, or the drawing, is the actual topography of Malibu Creek, where the dam is pre-dam. So this is actually the engineer's drawing from 1924. That top left photo is the dam in 1925. So it's actually before the spillway was constructed. So you can see the dam on the right, but on the left, that spillway is not there yet. And then the bottom left is just, there was actually a dam keeper's house up on the bluff there, or up on the little knoll, if you will, on the left side of the stream. Let's see this. Right. So getting into some of the more the project details a little bit more specific. So the project in itself, in the simplest terms, is removing that dam, taking it out, restoring the habitat above it. And in doing so, there's about 780,000 cubic yards of sediment behind the dam, which I think is about enough to fill the Coliseum, I believe. And the plan right now, as it's approved in the EIR and EIS, is to remove it over about 7 to 8 years incrementally. So slowly chip away and lower it. And then that material would actually be trucked out on trucks. 2/3 of it would go to landfill because it's considered not beach compatible. So it's these finer material, not sand grains. It's the stuff that's smaller than that. And then about 1/3 of it would be used for beach nourishment. So it's the size is right for beach nourishment. So that material would be trucked out, taken on a barge, and then offloaded just offshore so that I can nourish the beaches again. And then we, as I mentioned, we have not only the dam, but there's actually those 8 upstream barriers on Las Virgenes and Cold Creeks that are actually part of the project also. And this quick little looping video here is last year. This is March of last year. So we had some pretty good storms in February and March last year. So this is it going pretty good over the spillway last year. All right, so we have, as I mentioned, there's a couple options for the sediment. Actually, that's one of the big things we are looking at. We're kind of taking a second peek whether we think trucking is the best option. There's lots of reasons why it is not the best option. There are some reasons why I think it was chosen. One, there's some communities downstream and the whole Malibu commercial complex that is in the historic floodplain or very close to it, and so flooding is a concern. So if we take an option where we do this more natural or hybrid transport, where you kind of punch a hole in the dam or lower it and let natural flushing happen, we have to be careful with that we're not causing additional flooding downstream. But it's something we're taking a close look at for sure. And it's becoming more prevalent and more practical and for dam removal to do that. It's the method that is going on with the Klamath River dams, which are coming down now. As we speak, they're removing those. And it's happened with some past one, like this photo is Glines Canyon Dam. So it's definitely doable. You just have to, there's different precautions you have to have and different risks associated with it. But that's something else we're looking at, and we're actually going to take a look at a pipeline potentially. Is there an option to like sluice the material, so where you actually mix it with water and discharge it offshore, so you're avoiding those flooding impacts, you're avoiding potential impacts to species, and lots of potential impacts could be avoided that way, but it's technologically a little tricky to do. So we're going to be taking a closer look at that. So why are we doing this? One of the big reasons is just restoring natural ecosystem function and habitat connectivity. As you can imagine, a dam, not good for terrestrial animals moving up and down the stream corridor, and really bad for aquatic species, especially southern steelhead, which is in danger and is doing really bad. It's the southern portion of steelhead, or the southern population, is doing the worst out of any of them on the West Coast. So we need to do some actions to help steelhead not go extinct very, very soon. It's also really good for coastal resiliency, getting natural sediment transport happening. Our coasts we're seeing this with floods and with wave action. Our coasts are eroding, and it's because we don't have that natural sediment coming down to replenish it. So removing the dam and restoring more natural sediment is great for coastal resiliency. Public safety is actually an aspect too. There's been few people that go down there and jump off of the spillway or part of the spillway, and there's been a few people that actually have died by jumping into these shallow areas. So I'm trying to help with removing a nuisance. And the dam's totally full with sediment, so there's no storage capacity, no flood control. It's 100% full, so it's not serving any of those functions right now. And like any big project, there's challenges, which we are facing also. One of the big ones is sediment placement and disposal. What do we do with that material? If we're trucking it, truck traffic, greenhouse gas emissions, huge deal. If we're letting it flush down naturally, we have to worry about impacts to species, impacts to infrastructure, flooding. So lots of fun little challenges. Cost is another big thing we have to consider. Of course, it's estimated it's about $280 million to remove the dam and do the project as proposed. Not a little amount of money. So finding that money. Fortunately, there's lots of funding right now for aquatic and terrestrial restoration, but still a lot of money. And then, as I mentioned, truck traffic and downstream flooding. And so timeline, we're in the yellow dot here is about our current, where we're at now. So in 2020, the EIR and EIS, so those federal and state environmental documents, were completed, which was a huge milestone. And then the year later in 2021, we were very fortunate where the state actually allocated $12.5 million to the project for design and planning to get it to this 90% level of construction documents and permitting. So that's where we're at right now. That's what we're working on currently, is getting it to that phase. So we had our first public meeting for this phase in May of last year. And then we've just been doing tons of baseline studies. There was a lot done, but some of them needed some updating, and some of them we're doing some new ones. The modeling is getting redone. We have some more sophisticated modeling software. So the actual hydraulics, how the water is moving, how the sediment is moving, that's getting tweaked or updated with the newest model to really have a better understanding of where the water is going, where is going to flood, where is not going to flood, where is sediment getting deposited, things like that. And then over the next year or so, we'll be doing the actual design elements of the dam removal and potential alternatives, as well as those upstream barriers. And then we anticipate by March or so of 2026, all the design and permitting should be done. And then after that, we just have to get from that 90% design phase, which is where that $12.5 million gets us, to 100%, which is not a big jump. And then from there, it's deconstruction. So we anticipate in 2027, 2028-ish is where we're hoping we can actually start deconstructing the main dam, which actually the upstream barriers, we think we can do a little bit quicker, a little bit before that. And that's what we hope Malibu Creek will look like, restored to a more free-flowing natural system with steelhead and other fish and aquatic species and terrestrial species moving up and down.
Great. RJ, I really appreciate that. I've seen the top of the dam, and I've heard a lot of discussion about why is this dam here, and all of that. And I know a couple of years ago, I remember that a kid died jumping into the dam, and it just seemed like it's been a terrible thing for a while. So I'm so glad that you're giving us an update and giving us this information. Does anyone have any questions for RJ? No. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate this. And please do keep us informed. I'm sure the city will be aware as well. And we'll look forward to hearing updates and appreciate what you're doing. And good luck with it. Let us know if we can be of assistance.
Thanks. Appreciate it. And if anyone's interested in getting a closer look and wants to actually hike down there, let me know, and we could probably get arrange that. It's a nice hike getting down there.
You know what? We'll definitely be in touch. Yeah. Every one of us wants to do that. So we will be in touch. Treya will be in touch with you to set that up.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of the people in our audience are ready to go too. We'll definitely do that. We did a nice tour of the. We've been trying to set up some tours of local things like the highway overpass, wildlife crossing, and things like that, and we just did the tram, and we're going to do the landfill. So there's a lot of things so this is definitely on our list. Treya will be in touch with you. So thank you for offering that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. I'm going to jump right in, keep the meeting going. All right, next on our agenda is the environmentally sustainable procurement policy. And again, we are very appreciative that Glenn's taken his time to join us. So without any further ado, please tell us a little about yourself and a little about the procurement policy.
Thank you, Chair Cohen, members of the Environmental Commission. My name is Glenn Mikich. I've worked for the city since 2002, so a lot of years, and I was actually a liaison to this board when I first got here for a few years, and then it was transferred over to the Public Works Department, but I'm glad to be back here tonight. And with actually this project, I'm very happy to be here. It's been a long time in the making. Just a little bit about me. My background is actually in environmental science and sustainability. And I did get into planning right out of college, so I kind of got diverted more into natural resource protection. It was an interest of mine, and then it kind of blossomed into a planning career. But I'm happy that sustainability is kind of re-emerging back with the planning field, and so it kind of loops me back into where it all began. And interestingly enough, just before I begin this item, my first job was actually with the California Coastal Commission in 1996, and they were talking about notching down Ringe Dam all the way back then, and if not even way before that. So it's really nice that you had that previous speaker in here, and that they have money and they have a plan, and they're getting really close to doing that. It's been a long time in the making, so really nice to hear about that, and thanks for the California State Park System for getting involved with that. But on to sustainable procurement. This item, I believe, was in front of this body about in the year 2009, just a little bit after we occupied this LEED Gold Civic Center, City Hall and Public Library. And the idea is to practice our business in the same way, in the same vein as this City Hall was built, with sustainability in mind. And sustainability is indeed the root of the city. So I'm glad we were able to get this back here, and I'm going to just go through my little PowerPoint here and talk a little bit about that. So what is an environmentally sustainable procurement policy? Well, procurement is the act of obtaining or purchasing goods or services typically for business purposes. And so this policy is really a set of policies adopted to ensure that our procurement decisions are carried out in a thoughtful way with respect to our impact on the environment and even worker and visitor health and safety in mind. So to an extent, we've already done a lot of this. After 2008, when we occupied this, there was a lot of informal policies about how we did our business. A good example would be how we purchase our paper, right? We can purchase paper that is just standard paper, or we can use paper with recycled content in it, right? So a good thing to do. But we've done many things, not just implemented informal procurement with that, but we have a green janitorial contract. We buy recyclable, compostable tableware already. We're a member of the Green Power Alliance. We ban, polystyrene. So there's a lot of environmentally sustainable things we've done. And so this is now a way to put all of that together into a policy that's clear amongst all departments on how we do our business, as opposed to just informally, right? So what are the benefits of this? Well, we can conserve natural resources. We can reduce greenhouse gas emissions, very important in this day and age. Decrease air pollution, reduce energy and water use, reduce or eliminate exposure to toxins. And a really good thing of this is that a lot of products are more expensive. The sustainable version is a lot more expensive than the standard version. So by participating more, by creating more demand in the marketplace, we can have the products compete and bring the prices down and make this more economically viable for us. And then really, we lead by example, right? So when we do this, we create a model that other businesses, other public agencies can follow. But there are long-term benefits too, right? So if we use less water, less energy, it lowers our water bills, our energy bills, so we can save money. We're available for rebates, right? We can get rebates for a lot of this stuff. And this last one, access to grant funding, is really important. CalRecycle does have a lot of grants that are predicated on having an adopted policy. So it's really good for us to do. And then from internally here, all of us who work in the building and all you guys who come and participate, you're exposed to less toxins, right? So improved worker health and safety, occupant health and safety, that will lead to increased productivity and less sick time taken. So the draft policy does have a lot of sections. I would say the bulk of it is really tied up into Section 3. We have some policy statements, but Section 3 is the specifications that kind of outline what we do, and it's divided into really 8 subject areas. And the first subject area is source reduction. So source reduction is really trying to reduce the waste stream, and that would be by purchasing durable items, refillable products, remanufactured products, products that use less packaging, compostable projects, recyclable products, printing on 2 sides, right? We print out a lot of these things, these staff reports. making an effort to print on two sides saves half the amount of paper. So, good thing to do, right? I bet providing digital copies of agenda packets. Do you guys get digital copies, everyone? Thank you, guys. You're ahead of the game. We still provide some members paper copies, so we can improve on that too. We have a section about recycled content products. So the flip side to recycling items is that they're made into something else. So now we can buy products with that recycled content in it. And not just paper products, but concrete. One of the things we did when we first built this city hall is we had a storm drain that was buried underneath the site made of concrete. And we took that concrete, crushed it up, and used it as a base to reuse in the development of this building. So recycled products, right? Recycled content. Oil can be recycled. Purchasing equipment that is compatible with that recycled product is just as important. We had an issue where we were buying recycled paper a while ago, and printers where the paper would keep jamming in the copier. So that part of it's important too. And then I mentioned energy and water savings. Easy to do, right? Purchasing of equipment that is more energy efficient. And everyone knows what the Energy Star label is, right? You go to the store and buy an appliance with the Energy Star label. Really easy to do, easy to see. Labeling's good. You know it's going to do something good. And there's cost savings that comes along with that. And many products, space heaters, air filters, other appliances, plumbing fixtures. Our bathrooms here are either low flow or not even water. There's waterless, right? We use waterless urinals over at the tennis and swim center. So we've done a lot of things already again. So, but this again would just cement this in place. Section 3.4 addresses green building. This one I'm going to get to a little bit more detail after I talk about these broader categories, because there may be a few choices or some direction that we would ask from you, or at least some comment on it. But it's really how we build new buildings or renovate existing buildings. We can do it in a sustainable way, and there's different programs out there to help us do that. So section 3.5 addresses landscaping. You all know Heather Melton. I worked with her on these policies for this section. And we already do a lot of this. And again, it would be to cement this, but use of native and drought-tolerant landscaping, right? And reduces water use. Uses sustainable landscape practice management techniques such as integrated pest management and less toxins. Grass cycling, right? Just leaving the grass on top of the lawn to decompose and provide nutrients back to the grass, and it's all natural. Water efficient irrigation, drip irrigation, mulching, composting, and using, again, use of recycled materials in concrete and permeable paving where appropriate. And permeable paving is a little up for debate because there are some circles out there that believe that pervious paving can sediment up over time and act just like an impervious surface. And so, and I provided in the staff report some council comments, and we had one council member in particular that suggested removing that permeable paving from this policy altogether. So interested to hear your comments on that. Section 3.6 really talks about toxics and pollutants. This is more to the health aspect, right? More environmentally friendly cleaning products. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Green Seal. You can go to the store, you look at a cleaning product that has a Green Seal label on it. There's a lot of programs out there, and you'll see some of the symbols I've put on the slide here, the cradle to cradle, eco logo, safer choice, EPEAT deals with electronics. But those are easy to do, right? You get products that meet those requirements, but it addresses a lot of things. Vacuum cleaners, particulate matter, right? Particulate matter, if it flies up in the air and you breathe it, not good for your lungs. So we want use of vacuum cleaners that catch those particulates. Refrigeration and fire suppression systems. everyone remembers the hole in the ozone layer, and that was caused by refrigerants, CFCs, right, that go up in the atmosphere, persist for over 100 years, and then destroy the ozone layer. Well, this is now a whole body of different materials that do that, and the phasing out of all that. So we feel that's really important. Detergents, right, soaps that can biodegrade, pesticides that are more natural or can naturally degrade or are more friendly to us. Products with low VOCs, paint, you can find paint with low VOCs, adhesives, sealants, all those kinds of products and systems. Carpet with no formaldehyde. When we put carpet in this facility, the idea was to initially have it outside for a number of days so it can off-gas. We couldn't do that. We had a time situation to open up the city hall. So we installed it, and instead of off-gassing it, we would run the ventilation systems at high rate for a number of days, and that would flush the system, so you get all the chemicals out of there. But important, otherwise you'd occupy a building and be breathing all this in. Everyone loves that new car smell, but guess what? You're breathing in toxins. Buying products with no lead or mercury, right? Those are no-brainers, really. Electronics, now EPEAT certified is a certification system and it's kind of like the Green Seal certified for cleaning products. There's a system in place where products are submitted, reviewed by a federal agency, and then certified as EPEAT friendly, meaning throughout their entire life cycle, there's consideration of the sustainability of that product, and it's mainly electronics. And then purchasing of vehicles and equipment that use alternative fuels. We just bought a bunch of hybrid vehicles, right, plug-in hybrids, so much better than traditional gas-burning vehicles. So our next section is really forest conservation. Been around for a little while. You guys might have heard of the Forest Stewardship Council, some other organizations out there. They certify that wood products are from sustainably farmed forests. They're not clear-cut. And there's a chain of certificates. Sorry, I'm mixing that up, but the certification actually follows a chain, so you can see from the forest to the manufacturer of the product to the end user that it is from a sustainably farmed forest, and that's an important chain. Section 3.8 is bio-based products. Now this one's more limited. This is basically as you farm and have waste product that comes out of the farm, that product is used, recycled in some way, and made into a product. So we don't have many products out there that are bio-based. I think they're getting more from time to time, but if we can find some and if we can use them, the idea is to go out and use those types of products. So the implementation of this policy, it'll be administered by the city manager or someone of his choosing as a designee. They'll be responsible, all staff actually will be responsible for procuring goods and services, and they'll be required to meet policy requirements with every transaction unless a waiver is issued by the policy administrator. These services, these policies, and the marketplace aren't perfect. You know, we can't always find the product we need. We can find a product, but it might not perform the way we want it to, or the cost of it may be very prohibitive. We're trying to apply this to contracts as well. If we place unreasonable burdens on contractors that have to come in and do services for the city, and that's going to drive the price up, or they just can't get the types of machinery that they need to use, you know, we still need to have the service. And so there will be times when we're going to have to waive some of this stuff. And so the idea is to be 100% as good as we can until we can't find what we need, or it's too expensive, or we don't get bids on contracts because the contractors won't bid those services, and then we have to be a little bit smarter about it and make some changes. It also is going to come with a evaluation system. So, excuse me, right now the city manager or the designee will periodically evaluate the policy's success and report back to the city council. So a little bit more about green building now. That was policy 3.4, and the way that we did this is we developed a system along with the sustainability task force. And when I brought this back initially to council for their initial review, the idea behind green buildings is which way to go with the green buildings for new construction, major renovations. If we do nothing, that means we have what's called the California Green Building Code in place, state code. Everything has to meet the California Green Building Code. So there's already a baseline level of sustainability built in to new buildings, but do we want to go further? You know, we built a LEED Gold building. LEED is actually the most recognized sustainable building rating system that we use here in North America. There are other rating systems all around the globe. My research, and I'm still kind of getting into the other systems that are out here. I'm LEED accredited, so I'm basically accredited to implement this. I've been reviewing private development projects for LEED compliance for a number of years now. But so when I wrote this, we were thinking about using LEED and sticking with LEED as a program, but there's different ways you can do that. It is a rating system. It's built on a point system. There's prerequisites that are required. There's points that in different categories that are flexible, and you pick and choose which credits you want to get depending on your building's needs and your goals and desires. So there's many ways that we can do this. So number 2 choice would be that we don't implement the LEED system per se at a certain rating level and in a formal kind of review, but we just generally follow it. So we can use what's available to us through the rating system when we develop plans for a new project and our goals for that new project, and just kind of pick and choose, right, what we want to put in the system. And then there's no additional fee with that. There's no additional review. We can be sustainable without getting certifications, but it would be just more of an informal system. So, and if we do that, any project would still be required to meet the Green Building Code. So we're at least getting that base level no matter which choice we make. Or we could go a step above, and by the way, just to back up a second, in 2003, we adopted a green building policy for all non-residential development, private development, to meet a LEED standard. So it's another reason that we kind of are leaning towards LEED for that. But this is kind of how we operate in this number 3. So we adopt a policy that we would require LEED to be the rating system used, and then we choose a rating, platinum, gold, silver certified. That's from top to bottom. And this is the rating system we use. Here's the book. Pretty thick. It's got a lot of policies in there. So, and a lot of requirements. So, and there's a point system, right? So platinum's more points, gold's fewer points, silver's even fewer, and certified has a baseline number of points. Certified is pretty good. You know, anytime you go up, you're getting even better. So, question is for, you know, the requirement we want to put on ourselves as a city when we build a new facility, what standard do we want? So that's kind of a decision or something that would be good to get comments or input on tonight. But this, in number 3, would be certified by city staff, so most likely me, you know, or someone else like me that comes in to do this. And again, the rating system builds in flexibility for what features you want to have in the building itself. You know, and so number 4 would be the most strict version of this, which means the city would adopt a policy that requires LEED certification, which means we submit to what's called the Green Building Certification Institute. They're the ones that are in charge of doing the reviews for LEED projects, and it's a very strict committee. We went through it with this building. We actually have our plaque that says we're certified LEED Gold, and so is the library. And it was a long process. We had to fight for certain points because they're very particular about how you document and show them how you meet those points. It was expensive. You know, we paid $250,000 for a consultant to ensure that we get our LEED certification. So there is a cost that could come with that, but at the end of the day, you've been through an official system, an official review by an organization that does nothing but this, and at the end of the day, your new city facility will get a plaque you can put on a wall and advertise to all its guests and the city, you know, brag in a way, right, that we've done something very good here. So that's an option too, and if we go that route, again, you know, what level will we want to certify buildings at? Platinum, gold, silver, or just the baseline certified? So those are some choices. There are other systems out there, like I said. I wish I had more to give you on those other systems. There's a lot of them. I don't understand all of them. I've been looking into some of them, and there was one called BREEAM that is from the UK, and it actually, I think, preceded LEED, but it's more implemented in Europe, you know, so we don't see it so much over here. There's a newer system called WELL, but it focuses on occupant health more than it does sustainability. So it has some very good things, but maybe not as broad brush as we'd want a city building to be. So anyway, just want to throw that all out there and see if you guys had some comments or some thoughts on that, which way to go. The city council did ask when they directed this to come back to this group, they directed that the planning commission review specifically this standard because their focus is on building and development. So the overall intent would be, and I'm going to get into fiscal impact in a second, but the overall intent would be whatever comments that come out of your board today, the comments on policy 3.4 would go to the planning commission for their deliberation, then ultimately back to the city council. Everything else would go just back to the council on the entire document. So just to wrap up here, the fiscal impact, we estimated that, you know, implementing this would take about 96 hours to develop and implement a training program, right? We're all gonna have to know. I might be one of the only ones or one of the few in the city hall that knows more about this, but anyone who is going to pick up a catalog and order paper, you know, order a new copier, order our electronic equipment, they're all gonna have to be trained to know what to look for, what to do, and how to make some of these considerations. And then ongoing time, we figured about 248 hours a year annually, which is about 0.12 of one of me, you know, or someone like me, that have to do some research, tracking purchases, preparing summary reports, and reporting back to the city council. So, in general, implementation of this policy would involve greater annual expenditures on supplies, equipment, and contract services. They're typically higher because that marketplace hasn't really corrected yet. But there are some positives in that we have an ability, and Dr. Farasati was looking into this before he retired, but the ability, I believe, is there to use some of the trash tax money we have to offset some of the costs of buying more sustainable products. So that's good, right? And then, of course, I mentioned earlier that if we adopt this policy formally, that we're eligible for a number of calorie recycle grants. And actually, I have to step back because I think Treya took a version of this policy, correct, in a basic form? Oh, we talked about it, so maybe that part didn't happen, but the idea is once you adopt the policy, you're eligible for a lot of the grants through Cal Recycle for different programs, food, beverage container recycling, 1383 local assistance with food waste, household hazardous waste collection, tire recycling, cleanup and enforcement, use for the rubberized pavements. So it opens up more funding sources. So that ends my presentation. I hope I was clear and thorough and gave you some things to think about. I provided the sample of the draft of the policy to you, and in the staff report, I had included the council's summary comments. So, and they did review it. They were very thorough. I think they basically liked the policy. I think they were very happy with it. They did have some comments and some questions, some kind of language tweaks that they'd suggested, and you guys maybe agree with that, you know, and then maybe you have some more comments to add to what they've done. So that finishes my portion of the presentation, and I'm available for questions, and certainly are excited to hear your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you. I will just comment that was, in my opinion, that was very thorough. So you said you hope it's thorough. I would definitely give you props for being thorough. I appreciate the level of detail and your explanation. I know I just want to explain to everybody here that the City Council has specifically asked us to add comments to this. So that's something we're supposed to do tonight. We're not taking this home and looking. They've already sent this to us. Glenn gave a nice overview of everything, but we're now going to kind of have a little discussion. I've got 4 or 5 different questions or pieces that I want to ask about, but I first want to kind of throw it out to everyone to see if others have anything. I want to start with one quick question, just because we've got the recycling superstars in the audience. You mentioned Cal Recycle and that you could recycle cans and a number of things. I didn't hear batteries on there. Do you happen to know if batteries are something that is counted in the Cal Recycle grant?
I didn't see it in there when I did my research, but it was some time ago, and I haven't refreshed my memory. We can certainly do more that comes along with that. But
yeah, if you could find, don't waste time tonight, but if you find anything out, if you can get back to Whitney and Larissa, because they've got a whole subcommittee specifically on this. And look, if we can get the city some credit for what they're clearly going to be working on, let's do it.
all right, sure.
Cool. All right, other commissioners. Whitney, jump in.
May I be so bold?
Thank you.
Okay. If we weren't short on time, I'd do that for a while. Finally, after all these years, whoever, Beth's been with me on the environmental stewardship committee, and that was through Las Virgenes School District, and Karen Kimmel had one of the gals duplicate the Harvard School's environmental sustainability program to try to have it go into the school district, and nothing came of it. But if you know Victoria Charles, do you know her yet? I mean, she's just, this is how it has to be. This is critical. And the city could afford it. We are not a poor city. We could spend a little bit more on these things. I mean, I don't know the budget, but this is the best meeting ever in all my years on the commission. This feels like change. I am just so stoked, honestly. I'll back you up, and I'll do anything to make this become true, because this is how change happens.
So city
Every single part of every single thing, from the ground up, what we use, what we buy, everything, the material, everything. I'm so grateful. I'm totally blown away. We should add batteries to what the city collects and uses. You know, we shouldn't have the city not collecting their battery waste.
All right. So how do you feel about it? So do you have any questions or any? No. So let's move on, because again, city council specifically, this is already something city council supports. The question, they want us, this body, to give them feedback. That's valuable feedback. But let's give them some specifics on how we want to tweak this, and specifically with regard, I heard specifically Glenn asked us for input on which of the options with regard to the lead building and the permeable asphalt and pavers. I actually wanted to ask if you could just give us a little bit more explanation about what that means, permeable pavers and asphalt.
So a pervious system, and I'll back up a second, because when you put hardscape on any surface, typically you'll put an asphalt or a concrete and it's impervious. It rains, the water hits it, it's gonna run off of it, increases in velocity and scouring effect, and washes pollutants away. There are all pervious systems out there that are designed in such a way that water can penetrate through. I've seen continuous poured pervious asphalt and types of concrete. I think there's questions to their durability and applications in certain instances. Pervious systems can be interlocking pavers with enough space in between, put over a base, right, that the water can penetrate through, and the hole in the system has to be enough to get the water through, and then it goes into usually a sand and then a kind of a gravel underneath that, which will help filter the water. So, and again, there's if it's not designed in certain ways, and we spent a good amount of time on this in a planning commission meeting and in city council some time ago to talk about a new definition of pervious pavers that actually made it into our code, our development code, which is Title 17, that is supposed to be a better type system, and that hopefully won't clog over time. But I think there is a concern out there that pervious systems, if they're not maintained properly over time, they'll just fill with sediment. And if they do, then they'll cease to function as a pervious paver.
And as far as where these the application for these, are you talking about all the ground around this building? Are you talking about parks? Are you talking
could be
about
anywhere. It could be parks, it could be
Tennis and
sidewalks,
swim.
it could be
Do we currently have any
tennis
in the
and swim
city?
center, right?
Do we currently have any in the city? Pervious sidewalks, like, I know we redid Old Town.
Isn't Old Town?
Those sidewalks seem
Old
like
Town
they're
is
not-
pavers they redid the.
You know, I don't think those are pervious.
Okay.
I think there are some sections where there's gaps, but they weren't designed specifically to be pervious.
And I'd love to answer your question, but since I work on the planning side, not in the really public realm, you know, I can tell you a lot of private projects that have used pervious pavers because they've had to. You know, the BMW actually has a pervious paver system. Audi now has pervious
Because of the oil.
pavers. Not just because of the oil, because they had to meet our pervious surface requirement by Title 17. But it helps with the oil. Their oil collection at the auto facilities is very good. It has to be contained, and there's special permitting that has to be done for the drains.
Okay.
to
I'm
collect the oil.
gonna let some of the other commissioners ask questions, and then I'm gonna come back to some of mine, if that's all right.
I'll hop in with, in the policies adopted to reward manufacturers and vendors that reduce environmental impacts, which is something we as a commission have tried. So we did reward people or businesses who switched from anticoagulant rodenticide, like the Cheesecake Factory did that, and we acknowledged it, and then it kind of died off. And then we did have a Green Business Award, like that the city council knows about. Before I was on the commission, I haven't seen that implemented, but perhaps that could all be linked together.
We just reinstated that subcommittee
Yeah.
at our last meeting, so I think that's an important point, that we actually have a subcommittee.
So we can help with that.
Is that you're talking about the Green Business Certification Program? Yeah. That's my understanding. Is I think we had it for at least a little bit, and we can
It's
get
not
that back
active
up and
right
running.
now, right?
It's not
We all
active
Kind of
right
went
now.
dark with COVID and everything, but
So all
we,
this is.
we actually
Right. Now, just to let you know, it is a little different. That particular system deals with businesses, not our own business. So this policy really addresses our business, but it's in the same vein. It means that there's a process set up where a business would be judged by how they buy products and how they conduct their business, and then receive a certification based on a set of criteria. So it is similar, and you're 100% correct, but not necessarily part of this policy.
And if I can just jump in, I think that could be a separate, like, agendized item for another meeting, if we want to talk more about that.
Other questions, thoughts?
I have a question.
Please, Larissa.
I have a question about what is rubberized pavement?
Well, we use that currently on our street resurfacing, correct? I believe we use, well, rubberized asphalt, so it's really, it contains recycled content in it. I think it's ground up tires, if I'm not mistaken.
So it's more of a way to use the old tires than it is to.
Correct, as opposed to landfilling them,
Okay.
yeah.
Has nothing to do with pervious or not impervious, right? That
No.
does not- okay. Thanks. That's my question. If you want us to weigh in too, I was looking at the 4 choices there. It seems like a third-party certification would be the wisest, wouldn't it, to take the heat off of any person at the city or any staff? If it's a third-party certification, then it's seems like it'd be more objective, or I'm not sure. That just sounded better to me.
It kind of depends. Really, it's just more official, right? There's a committee that's completely independent that's reviewing it to a certain standard and lead. The GCBI has been implementing it for years, and they've been tinkering with their system. And I mean, I've been working on it since 2003. You know, it's been through several iterations. So it all depends on how much flexibility you want. We can do the exact same thing, just not have to spend the extra money for the official plaque. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make it better necessarily, as long as we're doing what we need to do the right way.
Thank you.
One of the questions, I had a similar question, just with regard to obviously if you do it and it's approved by GBCI, then you get their stamp of approval and their plaque in front of the building.
Correct.
If you don't, what is the Glen, and you're the one reviewing, or as an example, what is the staff plaque that ends up? Is it, in your opinion, is it similarly impressive? Is it satisfy what the city's after?
Maybe it's probably a better question for the city council, to be perfectly honest with you. As I was mentioning, if we do let's say we pick gold. Okay, this is a gold facility. Let's say we want to continue the gold standard through all city facilities. If we do that, does it make a difference if I review it or if this committee reviews it? Probably not much different, because we're going to be working with architects, engineers, to make sure that we meet all those requirements. It's just I'm going to be reviewing it and saying, okay, yes, we did the right thing. It's almost like patting ourselves on the back in a lot of ways. You can still market it. You can still have the fanfare that comes with us to say, hey, look, we built a building that meets the gold standard. We may not have the plaque, but we know, and here are all the features. You know, we can list all that stuff out. You know, so it's really a choice of just how official you want it. You know, do you want a plaque on a wall? You think that's a good thing to have? There's an added expense to it.
But on the other, just playing devil's advocate, there's a perceived conflict of interest if staff is reviewing staff's work.
There could be impressions out there that we're not doing what we say we're doing.
Right, but
sure, I'll tell you as staff, we will.
I agree.
You know, we
no,
always
I agree.
have.
Right. I think we all agree on that. I'm just wondering. I mean, maybe that's a question I would take back. Maybe I would take that back to City Council. Is that Environmental Commission? You know, I think we're going to end up being supportive of, you know, as Whitney said. But I think the question would be back to City Council: is how much credibility are they looking for from this lead? Are they looking for it because it's the right thing, or are they looking for it because they want credit for it? And if it's both, that's fine, but I think that's a question that really City Council needs to answer. in terms of the lead issue.
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. Now, it could be that you guys form an opinion, and because it's a recommendation, right? The city council is going to make their decision, and they want to make it with your input. So if your input's going to be, we think from a credibility standpoint, going to get an official certification is a good thing to do, we can bring that forward. And they're going to take that and they'll make their decisions as they see fit as a city council, right? They are the legislators.
Yeah.
So,
My
but
only
they are
issue-
looking at you guys and they are wanting your opinions.
My only issue is we don't, sitting here, I don't feel like I have enough information. I don't know the cost of one versus the other. But like I say, for me, I think it's valuable to take back to city council that I think Whitney's comment was I think something that we're all gonna kind of agree on, that we support it. But to how much verification, that's probably a little bit above our pay grade or above the information we have available to us at this point. But let's see if there's other questions, because I've got a few other questions also.
Yeah, I wanted to say as far as like what we are comfortable contributing and how we can help, because obviously that's why we're all here. So 3.52 is about native plants, and we have had a subcommittee on that for 2 years, so we're more than willing to help in that way. We have community members involved, and we would just love to help that way specifically. It's one good option.
Sure. And that's built into the policy that we use the natives. I can tell you right now from the initial council session we had, there was a concern brought up by Councilmember Kraut that we may not want to eliminate grass altogether. There may be, we may want to reduce it quite a bit, but there may be certain areas and certain applications that we might want to move that forward. That's just a comment. There was no consensus on that when they spoke
like
about it.
a highly used playground perhaps, but in general, we would say no.
Right. And there's other types of grass too. You talk to the water district, there's more drought tolerant, more sustainable versions of grass that you can use. Is it the same as a marathon grass or something? Probably not, but you can probably get pretty close. So I think they'll probably be debating that again. But if you had a thought that, no, absolutely not, we don't want any more grass in the city, then you could say that if you wanted to. Or you could say, no, we think there are applications of grass and we agree with that statement. Again, it's up to you guys, up to this board to formulate an opinion on that.
That helps a little bit, because I think I was just recently at the lagoon and some watershed things were going on about this being a watershed. And the fact that there's so many impervious surfaces, and with every building that goes in, every foundation, whatever's happening, this is a watershed. We're right here at Las Virgenes Creek. It seems to me grass is another permeable surface, right? If it's done without the rolling hill grass that takes all the water and all that stuff, I think it is one more option to permeable surface that I would hate to lose. I think this all seems to be pretty good. It's within reason. It seems like everything has this within reason we want to do this. And so to negate something right out the gate doesn't seem wise. I would say keep all of our options for permeable or pervious surfaces open, because if somebody wants to come in and do something, great, but let's not add more concrete and things that will not allow for this watershed to be healthy and continue to thrive. That would be my 2 cents. Thanks.
I actually have a comment on grass personally, just because there's been a number of environmental forums about grass and about the fact that we live in a semi-desert and that we have way too many homes here have grass from some of the speakers at these. And I think I would like to just separate out. I think that the city should, this is just, I'm a little bit of my editorial comment, but I think the city should be providing more education and more encouragement for people to get rid of grass personally on their own private property. But at the same time, I agree with Larissa about city-owned property. For instance, the golf course has grass. They've also, it's watered, my understanding is by gray water, purple pipes. So there are ways, I think, to do things that are smart. But I also think, I mean, look, we had a whole forum. This is a native garden kit that Tree People provides and LA Water District. And I mean, as Beth said, we've got a whole subcommittee trying to provide information and opportunities for residents to frankly get rid of grass and the personal property. So I just would draw that distinction, but
Good point.
yeah. Other comment? I'm going to keep going then. You mentioned estimated time is 96 hours. I know that's an estimate. Is that regardless of which lead option, right? Wouldn't the
Yeah.
lead option?
Yeah, it wouldn't matter which lead option that we pick. Now, I didn't factor in time it would take to review a lead project per se, because that staff time was related to just implementing the policy.
Okay.
When we get to a construction project, a capital improvements project, it's going to have its own budget, right? And it's going to have its own time commitment to satisfy that.
So I might just add that in there, because I think it mentions the hours, but I don't think it says, I don't have it right here, but
Project.
yeah, I think I might add in there that that's for the implementation, and, that, depending on which way they go with leads or different projects, obviously it's gonna take more or less staff time.
Yeah.
Especially because I know city council we are less fiscal, we want to save the world. For them, they've got to worry about paying the bills a little bit more.
Sure.
Another couple questions I had. I didn't see anything in here about procuring energy. So for instance, solar. One of my big bugaboos was that they built the senior center and they built the library and they never put solar on them. And that was something that upset me from the beginning. And my understanding was that was partly because of the aesthetics and it wasn't felt to be pretty enough, which to me just seemed wrong. I mean, but I didn't notice anything about procuring energy, and it seems like if they could consider solar on buildings, for instance, that might be a good, again, we've had a forum on solar as well.
I think that it probably has changed, like, it was frowned upon in the beginning, like that look, but I
Right,
think
but now it's cool.
the aesthetic is changing.
Right, so, but it's something to be considered, I guess.
Well, no, you're right, and I think that's a very good comment. I mean, I can speak generally that now again, Calgreen is requiring solar on both
New
commercial
construction.
and
Yep.
residential.
Yeah.
It's a small percentage. I do know this council is considering solar options for city facilities as a general policy. So
Yeah.
that, I think, is a very good very astute comment that
Thank
we
you.
can put in here.
I think it's noteworthy that Calabasas High School is about to put solar panels over the entire parking lot, which is something, again, I've been pushing for 10 years. I have nothing to do with it, the success, but I'm really proud of it. So, I would love the city to be jumping on with that as well.
Right, and I can also anecdotally say that the state has a net zero energy goal by 2045, including a requirement that energy providers provide 100% solar, I believe, in the same time frame by 2045, consistent with that goal. So we draw power from the grid right now, and the grander scheme is that the entire state gets 100% renewable energy from the grid.
Right.
So, we can get out in front of that. Renewables are always good. They're always promoted. There's costs that come with it. When we first built this building, I know we looked at a cost-benefit analysis because unfortunately we have a giant hill to the south, which limits the efficiency of a solar system. And so we actually went from trying to get solar power to throwing it out as a concept because efficiency back then just didn't work out for the cost. But we may be looking into some other methods now. Parking areas with solar arrays on them or whatnot, or partnerships maybe with some surrounding developments. There's options out there, to try to get some more renewables in there. But again, I think it's a good comment. And but anyway, I just want to provide a little bit more of a statewide background on that one particular issue.
Thank you. Another note that I had was electric vehicle charging stations on city sites. I know that this committee actually had a lot to do, this commission, sorry, had a lot to do with encouraging the city to put electric vehicle charging stations. And so they put the first one in here at City Hall. And subsequently, there have been more at Tennyson Swim and in Old Town. And I think there's been a lot of success with that. But I didn't see anything mentioned with regard to that. And as there are more and more electric vehicles out there, I mean, other than the fact that Tesla's in the commons, for the people driving non-Tesla electric vehicles, it is something to consider as maybe putting something in. That's something I would encourage, is that there be some thought, at least, to electric vehicle charging stations as part of this sustainability plan.
I think originally the thought was that the products themselves, what we'd be buying, is what, again, that the direction of this particular policy, but I can see how it's a little bit intertwined with it. We also have potentially a climate action plan that we're going to be getting into, and there will certainly, typical of other climate action plans, be policies in there about electrification.
Well, especially if you're buying electric vehicles for the city.
Right, infrastructure is important, we have to have it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I'll definitely include it as a comment.
With regard to lead, I would like to just kind of take an informal vote, if that's okay, among all of us. Beth, Whitney, Larissa, and even the students can chime in if you have thoughts. So again, LEED buildings are environmentally friendly buildings, right? So the city is looking at the possibility of trying to encourage some level of LEED, is what I'm understanding. And option one is that there be no policy and they'll just do what they want to do. Option two is that there's flexibility and that they try to do LEED, but that they're not required in any way to do it.
Basically, we can just pick and choose from the rating system what we want to do without focusing in on any particular rating.
It would still encourage it, but
Still
not
encourage it.
necessarily be required.
Correct.
Option three, there would be requirements. They really do put much more effort into it, and that the certification of whether or not it's been met is certification by the city staff itself, Glenn or otherwise. And then option number four is, again, that it be required and that they would actually go to outside sources to certify it. Is that fair?
That's fair, yep.
So I just want to see if we have a general consensus, again, with the understanding that we don't really know the budgets, we don't know a lot of those issues, but with the information we have, since City Council has asked us to kind of give feedback. Okay, so Whitney, do you want to make a motion or a formal motion? Why don't we do that?
Okay.
Whitney, formally.
I motion for 3.
Is there a second? Or is there, do me a favor, I'm in a second. So we open it up for discussion. All right, now we have a motion and a second discussion. Beth?
I don't feel like I have a strong enough opinion. I'd want to listen to more and make a decision. So I'm going to abstain right now.
Okay. Do you want to speak to why 3? How about that? Speak, since we're just having discussion.
Because I have confidence in you to implement whatever is established, and I see no need for an outside.
Glenn, what do you think
Committee.
is best?
Well, I'm not on the environmental commission.
But you've been planning this and working with this for a while.
That's a tough question for me, because again, I'm implementing this. And it's
So you
really,
feel you're too
it's really a
invested.
decision of a city
Okay.
as to which way it wants to go. I can implement everything, and everything from Calgary and on up is all good to do, right? I can give you a cost consideration. How about that? I think that's fair. It may be a little bit different now, but not that long ago, it was generally considered a certified or silver rating is about equal now to Calgreen, right? Kind of nose to nose. And we see that in private development. When I do these reviews, You know, we have, like, for a car dealership, for example, has to meet LEED Silver, which is what Title 17 allows. And so they're able to translate that over to Cal Green, you know, restated a slightly different way and get through Cal Green. Gold, which is what this facility is, many years ago was a big cost gap. So it was a cost premium to hit gold. Now, that cost premium is still there, but maybe if you do it right, 3%, 4% of a cost premium, still gets you a lot of flexibility, isn't difficult to meet. You can still get there pretty easily. Platinum, from what I understand, is still a gap. So maybe we're talking about 12, 13% cost premium over a gold facility. Harder to get to, a lot more points. I can tell you that on certain developments that I've seen, you know, I go to these conferences and they talk about projects all over the world that were done and lessons learned. When you get into the platinum realm, sometimes projects will try to reach for things to be a platinum building, but it won't make necessarily sense in a geographic region. I've seen regions in desert areas that wanted to put a green roof on a building, only to find out later they got to water the roof because there's not enough rain. I mean, the whole concept is to provide a sink for the water and then cool the building, insulate the building with the plant material, but it wasn't to increase water use. So, you know, there's considerations. So gold to platinum, you can do it, and maybe the city would want to do that, but it's a high bar. It's a much higher bar. So I'll leave that as it is. I don't know if that helps your discussion, but
I think that's helpful.
What is
Here's,
that?
if you turn to page 3.4 on your thing, on your screen, you'll be able to see the 4 different topics.
So,
Curtis, were you going to make a comment?
No, I think Glenn covered it.
Okay.
so Glenn, I have a question now.
Yeah.
So if the city's aim is to meet the gold standard or the platinum standard or in their buildings, if you review it or if the agency, an outside agency reviewed it, it's the same thing technically, right? Because you're both looking at whether those standards were met to receive that
correct.
gold or platinum measure.
Correct. You just don't get the plaque and a nationally recognized rating system and company that reviews that third-party review. It's nationally recognized. You put the plaque on your wall and everyone knows what has been through the review process for that.
Okay,
So
and if-
that's really the difference in between a formal
Okay.
review versus staff review.
And if you get that formal stamp, that plaque, does that open the door to maybe more grants or more things in the future that you could get help with?
Not that I'm aware of,
Okay.
but it's showing the community, the world, right,
How
that,
cool we are, yeah.
that you've done something really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand.
Are there any other thoughts or questions or anything else? I just want to, I am going to support Whitney on this. I'm going to vote for 3 as well because my personal feeling is I think it's great. I think whether it's Glenn or staff or whatever it is, I think that's great. And I think the city always, if they choose, they always can submit it for additional certification if they want. There's no, 3 does not preclude getting additional verification. It allows the city to not spend as much money. So for me, that's why I support that. And I don't know if that matters for those people on the fence, but just kidding. Are there any other questions or thoughts or anything? It's okay to yeah, I think, otherwise I'm going to call the question and have us go ahead and vote. Yep. So we can move on with the agenda. All those in favor of Whitney's motion to support LEED level 3, I guess, of Glenn's options, Glenn's option of LEED level number 3, please signify by saying aye. Aye. It's okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Anybody vote no? or no, then anybody abstain.
I abstain.
I abstain.
So let Glenn, let the record show that you had 2 yeses and 2 abstentions. Okay? And unfortunately,
Now-
one
now
of us
please
is not.
understand a 2 to 2 essentially, or 2 abstentions is a no vote with 4.
Well, it's okay. I think that's
I
fine.
will
I think,
change
that
my
reflects what this body
to
feels.
say-
I mean, this body doesn't have enough information. I mean, I think,
It was so thorough.
yeah, but you know what? I think you could take that back to city council. I mean, that's how,
I thought it was for input, not by input. Well, you got
We've
input.
never been
We-
an organization that makes the decisions. We always support them. And so I lean into that comfortably
I do
in
too.
supporting them.
I do too. Well, great way to say it. So I would rather support you than make a problem.
yeah, and I voted for it, and I support my fellow commissioners who are abstaining. So I think,
They don't abstain anymore. They
No,
just
we,
support it.
I can get behind it.
I
Oh,
can-
That's what
oh,
we're
I'm
saying. That's
sorry.
what- No, she said it beautifully.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
bad.
they
I'm,
changed their mind.
I'm not listening.
I would suggest making a new motion.
Okay, let's
after
make a
the
new
most
motion.
recent discussion to make sure the record's clear.
I think that's fair.
Thank you.
I think that's fair. Who would like to make this new motion? How about Beth or Larissa, so you can say it the way that you feel? How about Whitney? How about Noah? Can somebody make a motion?
Is Noah allowed?
No.
I can also just, I can jump in, you are, well, I think you are supporting. I don't think you are necessarily making the decision. The ultimate decision still rests with city council. So again, this is kind of a supportive role, advisory role to city council, if that might help.
Okay, then I will make a motion that as the Environmental Commission, we are suggesting to the City Council to go with 3.43 and shoot for the stars and set the bar high. Can someone second that?
I second that.
Okay, now,
Any discussion?
Aye.
Any discussion? No. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 That's a 4-0.
4-0.
Thank you. Part 2 would be, if you'd like to opine on it, which level? Because 3 still had a choice of certified all the way up to platinum.
Yeah, I don't,
If
Maybe-
you'd like. If
yeah,
you're
maybe you can give us more
uncomfortable, I mean-
information. I mean, based on what you said, I would end up somewhere in the middle, is the reality. I mean, if this building is gold, but based on what you said before, it sounded like silver. I mean, it was reasonable. I probably wouldn't do platinum because then it's kind of holding everybody's feet to the fire a little more than we might want to, but this is just me saying,
I'll just jump in and say that you're also sort of setting a minimum. It doesn't restrict any project from going above the level that
That's
you
right.
recommend. And I know that, you set the bar and we think everybody will stay to the minimum, but every project's different, and so I just wanted to put that out there, that this is the minimum standard that you're
want to do a
talking
minimum
about.
of,
I mean, consider things you can grab onto are the fact that our ordinance requires lead silver. That's one way to think of it. Another thing you can grab onto is the fact that we've already held ourselves as a city to a gold standard for our civic center.
can you just give an example of what would the difference being between silver and gold?
It's really just a number of sustainable features incorporated into the building.
Well, considering,
There's
I mean,
not
considering how
specific
progressive
features
we
per
are,
se.
Gold seems reasonable. Then.
It does to me.
All right, so do you want to make that motion? Or go ahead, somebody make the motion.
I'll make the motion that we as an Environmental Commission encourage our city to have the gold as the lowest level. We're okay.
As a
I second that.
Any discussion? Then we'll go right into the question. All in favor?
I mean, our discussion, while it's open, should be said that we're doing this because this building is already gold. We feel like our city wants to achieve more, and that's why we're encouraging it. Because when we were talking before, it wasn't
clear.
during active time, yeah, so, okay. That's our discussion.
Any other discussion? All in favor of recommending a minimum gold level back to city council? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any other thoughts? Thank you all very much. Glenn, thank you. Student members, any thoughts? Anything? Thank you for listening. This is kind of cool stuff, right? All right, Glenn, thank you very much. We're going to continue
You're all
on.
very
Our meeting
welcome.
is going, and we look for, please bring it back to us where this goes. Or Trey or Curtis or somebody, let us know where this goes. This is, I mean, you got Whitney giving you a standing O, so we need to see where this goes. All right, we're going to move right into updates on city activities and projects.
Sorry, 1 second. Just trying to pull up the
I clicked something I
presentation
shouldn't have,
again.
so I'll take the blame for this.
Look at those roofs. Wouldn't it be nice if they had solar on them?
There we go.
Just saying. Oh, is the mic on? Look at that.
Thank you all.
All right. Good evening, commissioners. Just a quick city activities and projects update. The Las Virgenes Green Street is in full swing. We phase 3, which is the first phase that we are starting with on construction, is at 60% completion, and we have started construction on the bioswales.
Wait, where is this? Is on Las Virgenes?
This is on Las Virgenes at the northern terminus.
Thank you.
So the pictures that I have here are of the bioswales that have, you can see the curbs that will encase the bioswale. And as noted in the report, we actually were able to increase the number of bioswales we will have.
Can you define a bioswale?
So it's actually kind of what that conversation about impervious surfaces. So the parking lot that we are installing will be pervious. The water will drain into almost a catch basin-like thing that will have landscaping that will filter the water into the groundwater. And that filtering will take out a lot of those toxins and everything. And it's what we've been doing in all of our Green Street projects as an alternative to the impervious asphalt or sidewalk or that kind of a thing.
Perfect. Thanks, Trey.
Of course. The Las Virgenes Creek Restoration Phase 3 project, we have a lot of updates actually. We had our creek tour. Thank you to those of you who were able to attend. We had about 40 participants. We had residents, commissioners, council members. It went very, very well. I'm really glad that it went so well, and we got a lot of positive feedback, which was great. It's exactly what we were looking for. And I actually do have a video, and we were having some technical issues earlier. So we're hoping that the audio works, and if not, we will. I will show you how to find it later. Welcome to Las Virgenes Creek. We're taking people on a 1.5 mile informative hike to discuss past projects and future improvements to the restoration of the creek. Along the way, we're going to talk about some of the improvements that we want to make, and we really want your input and your questions. We're still in planning phases for this upcoming project, and we really want to get your input. For example, right here, we have this culvert that goes under the road. It's all concrete. We want to see if we can take out the concrete at the bottom of the channel, make it a lot easier for any fish that might come up from the ocean to come all the way through.
Here for my morning walk. I've had this on my calendar for about a month, looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll get all my steps in for today. All right, let's go.
We are working on also funding maintenance for the project and for events like that, but that would be, we've been getting those types of...
Here we go on the best trip ever. walking and walking and walking and looking and walking and enjoying ourselves. It's so beautiful. We're getting our steps in and enjoying beautiful Calabasas as we embark on this journey into the unknown. Thoughts to this point, maybe less than a half a mile, just enjoying the day, and then meeting other members of the community, hanging out, enjoying the weather, getting some exercise in, and then just taking in all parts of Calabasas that I've never really seen before. This is my first time walking this trail area, very enjoyable, and I hope it progresses to where we have a trail actually down by the water, going all the way maybe up to Malibu Creek State Park. That would be really exciting. But so far, so good, having a wonderful time.
For us to finalize improvements. Here also, you can see over there, we have our second gazebo. This was the first phase. This was the first gazebo put in. There's some trails. This is where we had Earth Day last year. So we're gonna try to connect that a bit better to the lower trail and then have an access across. So you can come up here as well.
It's been an enjoyable morning, meeting nice neighbors from the community, beautiful weather, lots of exercise, and I hope to be able to enjoy this in the future. And you should do it yourself next time. Join us for the walk. It's a good time.
Trey, I don't know how much you paid JJ, but he was worth every penny.
JJ was great. I'm glad that he had a lot of fun on his tour. So yes, again, thank you to everybody who came out. It was a really good experience. Like I said, a lot of really positive feedback, and JJ helped explain some of the topics that we were talking about, having some of the lower trails, and then I talked about soft bottoming out at Lost Hills and Meadow Creek, which were actually part of the discussion earlier with the Ringe Dam. Those two are kind of coincide with their project a little bit, so that's one of the reasons we have been in communication with them, and then they wanted to present to the commission. And the biggest news is we have $1.3 million for this project so far. We just received the funding agreement a couple of weeks ago, and we will be taking it to council for execution next week at their Wednesday meeting. Once everything is executed, we can issue an RFP to start the design, and this money will completely fund design. While we look for the remaining amount of money, we're estimating to need another $2 million, $2.5 million for the construction. And then upcoming outreach, we will be at the public forum on February 29th to talk about the project and tell people how they can get involved. Our landscaping division have a few things coming up. The Malibu Foundation will be putting a pollinator area at Danza Park. A local Girl Scout troop will be planting drought-tolerant plants at Grape Arbor. And the Malibu Foundation with Las Virgenes Water District will have an upcoming project at Bark Park on Las Virgenes. That project is moving rapidly, but they are still settling on the scope of the project. And then the Climate Action Plan, we are optimistic we will get an RFP out at the end of this month to get working on that for our Climate Action Plan subcommittee. And then funding for these activities and projects comes from multiple sources, and we're continuously searching for new funding opportunities and applying for grants.
I just want to say one thing. The creek thing is beautiful. What a great thing you're doing. Right now, with the rain and the saturation, if anybody was curious, it really is important that they stay away from the edges and the sides, because the banks, I've done a lot of hiking down in there, and it's really dangerous right now. And if you tumble down there, nobody's going to hear you. You will be on your own for a while, unless you're with somebody, and even then. So just right now with the conditions, we always encourage people to get out there and use the trails and look and be there. Right now, the creeks are a little dangerous. I just thought we should add that as a...
Very good point, yes. The water is rapidly moving. The slopes are very wet. They can cave in at any little bit of weight put out on them. So be very careful if you are utilizing our recreational areas.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll continue on. Subcommittee reports. Environmental Forum.
We are
what's
super
that about?
excited about our forum. Our flyer is official. We're going to share it with you guys right now. I think. No, we're not. I thought we were going to present it. So
It's provided in the packet.
perfect. So you can check it out, the packet. Okay. JC's been working really hard on it with Treya and getting everything set up. We created, oh, that's for you, yeah. We created a plan for the chair to be the moderator as forums continue again. So whoever is the chair will be moderating it. So this year, David will be our moderator. We're looking forward to that. And we really wanted to encourage you, commissioners and student commissioners, to attend the event and to help us spread the word. And I heard what you said, Noah, earlier about creating questions, so we'll work on that. And we're really excited. So that is the forum.
And it's at a different location this year.
It is. It's at the Tennis and Swim Center.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And thank you to the students for for promoting that. A lot of the attendees at the forum historically have come from the high school, so that's great. Thank you. Next committee, Arbor Day.
That's me too.
Beth.
So it's March 18th at Deanza Park, and we need lots of volunteers, so we'll make a sign-up list for that to really help stay organized, but we're very excited for that as well.
Great. Arbor Day at Deanza Park. Don't miss it. And from there, you could walk down and check out some of that creek work and swale thing, curb. What was it? Bioswale. Earth Day. Larissa. Sir. You were the queen last year.
That was Pumpkin Festival, I think, but yes,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Earth Day's going to be amazing, as always.
Earth Day.
Lots of
Whitney,
cool
tell us.
activities and some
okay.
more bee exhibitors so we could buy local honey. I bought honey last year from the first flowering after the Wolseley fire. How cool is that? It was tasty. Anyway, it's going to be great, as always.
How expensive was that, honey?
I think it was like $20. But yeah, that was awesome. And now
All
we'll
right,
just
and what's
segue.
the date on that?
The 13th from
Yeah.
2 to 5.
And that's going to be over by Albertsons, across from Albertsons.
Are we looking for
don't
new?
know.
We're looking
I
for a
don't think
place
that's
right
been
now.
established yet.
I think
We are finalizing having it be where it was 2 years ago, which is south of Agora Road on the creek.
at the other side. Okay.
Correct.
Much bigger.
And then the next is the Battery Committee.
Battery Recycling Subcommittee.
Here she
Where
goes.
is that?
What say thee?
How do I get to that?
It,
Get her to the.
She's coming.
it
Treya's
should be
doing it.
coming up.
Look.
There it goes.
All right, so as Daniel and Eli had told us Eli wasn't there, but when Daniel told us the story, he had said that you would put the batteries on the side of the box, right? It's, I think, what you said. So one version is with a hole on top, and another version is with just a lid, but this is really just a beginning presentation. On the top, there's another version where you would drop the batteries through the top hole. There's a lot of options on box styles. On one side of the box, it says, like the do's and don'ts. So the proper way to recycle batteries is to tape the two tops, the positive parts, so that they don't leak. So again, it's just an idea, but on the back of, how do I make this bigger? The screen, so I could just, is there a way to make the image bigger? No, okay, huh? Okay, well, I wanted to read the little story, but I can't read it because it's too small. But basically, it says Eli Rubel and Daniel O. Were two students at AC Stell Middle School when they started their battery recycling business. Again, I can't read what it says, but can you guys read it? Anyway, it tells their story, and I think their story is so inspiring, like I said earlier, and I think it's part of the box's inspiration. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I do think that when we present this box to the city council, that the boy's story is part of it. I don't know if it's proper to have your full names, I don't know about that, but I think it's really inspiring because then all the other young students, future environmental warriors will be able to read the box. So yeah, it says, well, that says what would happen if batteries were not recycled properly. So, you know, they leak and it gets toxic, goes into the earth. It's really very critical that our behaviors as residents is to recycle our batteries.
I have the story here if you want me to read it off.
I could read it upside down, perhaps. Who's got it the other way?
I have it right side up.
You could read it. Go ahead, Freya.
Eli and Daniel were in middle school at AC Stell when they started, a student battery recycling company. Together, these two local students began recycling batteries and enrolling residents to do the same. Since the inception of ASBRC, they have collected over 1 ton of batteries. The city of Calabasas recognizes Eli and Daniel as pioneers in the battery recycling movement in Calabasas.
So it says their story on one side, it says how to recycle your batteries on another. Another side says, you know, why we want to recycle our batteries. We want to keep them out of the landfills. So I'm not sure exactly what the next steps would be, but I really want this to be the next thing we pass out to the residents. I mean, I think the compost bin is awesome. And I think this should be the next follow-up to the compost bin, and I think it would cost less money. Comments, anybody?
So Curtis, does the subcommittee report go to city council? Like, should the commission vote on the subcommittee, and then from there it gets passed up to city council?
I think the way it would work is that the subcommittee passes it to the environmental commission. And it's for discussion right now, so the commission can discuss how they see, the future of this box progressing, so to speak, right? And if the decision is to ultimately present it to city council, so that the city procures the boxes or provides the boxes in some capacity, then that can be a motion that the commission makes. I would say the story is great, and it's really wonderful. If it went to city council, I don't know how it would work with having a business and a city logo on the same box, and how that works. I'm not saying it can't happen. It's something we'd have to look at if it gets to that point.
I mean if I did it as a business?
No, if the city procured the boxes and it's promoting which is great, a private business.
Oh, well, we could maybe not
It would just need to
use
be.
the name of their business.
I'm just putting out there the
Yeah.
message would have to probably be just
Tweaked.
looked at
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, just
But
a
I think right
beginning
now it's
version.
with the commission to talk about.
Okay, so I'm presenting as a subcommittee, I'm presenting it to the,
Speaker card.
What happened?
He wants to speak, so she's getting a speaker. She said, get a speaker card.
okay. Yeah, so I guess my position as a subcommittee is presenting it now to my commissioners, and now my commissioners, if you have something to say.
And I want to add that isn't the hope that every home is aware and has a place to put their batteries separate from their trash cans?
Yes, yes.
I think that is kind of lomping onto what they started, is that so many people in my neighborhood that are elderly have
Wait, do me a
no
favor,
idea.
second her motion.
Second, do you
All
make a
right,
motion?
now
Okay, I
we
second
can
that motion.
discuss.
I'm sorry.
That's good. Now keep going. I
Okay.
apologize.
So many elderly people don't know what to do with theirs, and they will stack them up in their garage. And so then it requires something like this, where somebody will come and get them, a big bunch of them. This maybe is hopes of regular, like trash pickup or recycle pickup, whatever. And maybe, I don't know if anybody talks to waste management. Who knows what it could lead to? But this is your hope, right? To have one in every home so we know what to do with our old batteries.
Yes, and actually, it does say on one of the other sides of the box, the different places throughout the city where you could drop your boxes off. So at the Tennis and Swim Center, it's, for those that know that they could drop it off there, it's very messy. It's not a nice view of all the messy batteries. There's the tower, and it comes out of the tower, and I just think it'd be so nice to have like an aesthetically, whether it's here at the city hall or at the library or at the swim center, wherever the collection stations are where the city does pick up the batteries, that they're just stacked and they look nice. That's the intention of the box too.
Let me ask a question, just because if this goes up to city council, if we want to produce less of a carbon footprint and we have hundreds or thousands of these boxes, I've just.
Good point.
I mean, this is the same, by the way, my former environmental commissioner said the same thing about these calendars. That we're making, that these
Okay, so-
calendars are, that
yeah.
we're using so much paper and, I mean, one of my.
If the box is a recyclable cardboard box, then the impact is, the cost of the box to the measurement of the good and the box being recycled, it works. It shouldn't stop us.
And is your thought that it would be, people would come here to pick them up, or people would go around to the houses and drop them off, or like how people would ask the
Well,
city
I would
for them?
imagine that the city has not given out that many compost bins because, I mean, I did an event in my community and I picked up 30 compost bins, compliments of the city, but the 100 people that came to my event were like, okay, so 30 people got the bins. So I don't think it would be I would love it to go to every single house, but it could just also be something that's passed out at Earth Day and whatever those events where the compost bins are found.
I would just like to make a quick comment that the city does not do the compost bins. Those are through waste
Waste
management.
management.
Those are-
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess that we could be stopped there, but we could also not be stopped there.
And the reality is the city has given away pencil boxes or pencils, or, I mean, it could be
This is
battery,
also- yeah.
battery boxes could be the thing that, for the
Right.
Pumpkin Festival or Earth Day and whatever event we have.
It's just another step, you know, like with the presentation that was given. This is getting it in the home and implementing the change that needs to occur. They did it, they proved it, the community responds to their program. It's a need, it needs to be filled.
And I really think waste management would love I don't know how to segue to that, but I do know that waste management and Cal Recycle and all those organizations are very interested in educating people and getting a way for us to filter our trash and our waste into different situations. They're all about that right now.
So why
who
don't you
knows?
and I go to
Let's
Waste
do it.
Management and to see?
And talk to them about it.
Okay.
Because that would be great. If we could take a little off of here, it might eliminate some middlemen. Yeah, so I think that's wise.
Okay,
Thank you.
that'll be our next step.
So do you want to table your motion, or do you want to vote,
Table.
or do you want us to vote on the motion?
Or Chair, can I jump in? I think, and Vice Chair, I think if the idea is to have them as giveaway promotional items, to at least start with that instead of potentially having one in every house. Any motion could just, it may not need to go to city council. So you can just, request staff to investigate this further and report back. If it goes into every single house, I would say that definitely has to be something council looks at.
Okay.
Promotional events is a maybe, but let us look into that first.
Awesome.
If that informs your
Sounds good.
motion.
As something that would be given away like we do with the pencil bags and things. That's okay.
Yes.
Great, I like that idea.
And then before we do make any further motion or vote, we do have a public comment on the item.
So I just wanted to say that I know that there was concerns about the logo being on the same box as the city logo. But we are, I don't know if it makes a difference, but I do want to make it clear that we are registered as a 501c3, which is an official nonprofit organization. So we can't make any profits from this. So if that changes anything, or just wanted to make sure all the information is out on the table.
That's helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. So perhaps then, if staff can take this and report back, would that be fair? That way we don't really, if it doesn't have to go to city council, we don't really need to vote. I mean, it's clear
That's
that we have a
true.
consensus, we all support these,
Okay.
we have a subcommittee. So clearly if you're cool with that, and unless you,
Sounds, no, that's
unless you
great.
want it to go to
No, I
city
like that.
council and-
No, no, that.
You guys all right,
It
subcommittee?
seems more doable that way, too.
Okay.
yeah.
So
it's exciting.
just so I can summarize, it's that we will take, first off, are these, is this rendering complete? Ooh, I see dimensions on there. Is there
It
any?
could be, well, really, it was just the first step. I could have my
Okay.
graphic designer render anything based on whatever size we choose at a later date.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll look into it, and we will look into like the budget and where we can, procure these in a sustainable way and use them as promotional
Awesome.
items.
Yay.
Great. Thank you, thank you for your efforts, both of you, and the students and what you've done with this subcommittee. Native plants.
We just wanted to make a quick clarification. In the report, the Native Plants talks about a field trip to Thomas Paine. Do we mean Theodore Paine Nursery? Okay, just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
That's so funny.
And then, of course, if you have more of a report that you would like to present to the commission.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, you guys.
All right. Student member presentation.
All right, so,
Is your microphone on?
yeah. I think so. All right, so I reached out to the LVSD district office, and so these are some updates on the Measure S funding and the construction that they're using those funds for. All right, so the first thing is the solar panel installation. So Mr. Cohen alluded to it. Some of these solar panels are going in the parking lot, some on buildings. So the first group that's going up is June through November, which is Agora High School and Calabasas High School. Then the next group is July through November, which is Eastdale Middle School, Bay Laurel Elementary School, and Chaparral Elementary School. And then group 3 is August through November, which is Lupin Hill Elementary School, A. Wright Middle School, and Round Meadow Elementary School. Then group 4 is September through November, which is Willow Elementary and Sumac Elementary. And the final one is group 5, which is September through December, which is Lindero Elementary and White Oak Elementary and Yerba Buena. And so this is for Agora High School. This is a digital rendering that they did where it shows how the solar panels will look on the parking lot. And then it's going forward. And then this is just a close-up view on the upper lot, how it would look. And so then finally there's some other projects that they're doing. So HVAC installation. So Calabasas High School has very old HVAC, and it costed a lot of money before to reinstall like a new system or just retrofit it. And so now with these new funds, they're going to start installation February 29th. And then Lupin Hill Elementary is starting a sustainable garden / farm project. There's pictures later on about that. So they're starting a garden where students can grow food. They can do experiments with plants and things like that. And I believe they'll also have some animals like chickens and things like that. And so this is at Lupin Hill Elementary School. And then electric car charging stations at Agora High School. They're implementing some into the parking lot where there was a close-up rendering. They're implementing some there. And then finally, there's going to be turf installation, but this is still pending approval at Chaparral Elementary School, Round Meadow Elementary School, and also Bay Laurel Elementary School. And so these are some pictures of how so far the work's going for the Lupin Hill Garden and Farm. And then these are the electric charging stations that they're going to install in Agora High School.
Great, thank you, Navin. Lupin Hill had a lovely garden before. I just want to make sure everyone knows it. And then they remodeled the landscape and they lost it all. So I'm so glad that it's coming back bigger and better. They did not have animals last time. That's lovely.
I did not know, but Calabasas High School actually has a garden. I did not know that the special needs students maintain in the back beyond, I never knew that. I mean, how many times have I been to Calabasas High School, and I've never known that. So I just found out a couple weeks ago. So with that, if they need or want anything from the city, or perhaps we could get a tour or something, just to, our commission,
Just spread awareness.
yeah, I mean, that's something we've talked about. Gardening is something we all near and dear to our heart, so potentially even have a subcommittee, have one of our subcommittees supporting it or something, or so.
And one other issue that Navin brought up was the turf in those schools, and I do think it's important to address that this is a very controversial topic, and so it should be discussed more, and I was glad to see that still says pending approval, and I hope that our voices are heard as far as concerns with that.
Are you boys aware of what the problem is with the turf?
No.
You want me to explain?
Yeah.
Well, the issue is if it's a highly used area, then grass is efficient. It's safer for children as well. It's softer, it's better. It absorbs water. It creates less runoff and toxic runoff. Even if you make the turf that is of a material that's better, still to have these children playing and rolling and all this just doesn't fit right. Environmentally, sure, you don't use water, that's great, but it has to be a give and take, a balance, and so there's a lot of heated opinions about it, and I'm glad that it's still pending approval, so we'll see how that plays out over time.
Interesting.
I mean, the turf gets hot, it's giving off a toxin. Kids are rolling around on that.
And they spend so long in those elementary schools. Like middle school, it's like a blink of an eye and they're barely playing on it, but you just see these kids there, so it is of concern. Yeah.
It's not playing outside when you're touching plastic, when your feet are in plastic. I mean, I don't want to get too technical, but it's called earthing, it's grounding. As humans, we need to be touching soil. We need to be touching the earth. And it's problematic. You wake up, you put on your shoes and your socks, then you go play a sport, you put on your sports shoes, you go to sleep, you lay down. When are we touching the earth? When are these kids touching the earth? They're not if they're playing on turf.
It's also extremely flammable. So we have issues about fire here. And besides the plastic and the toxicity, which is huge on little kids, we don't want to test on our little kids, or you guys even, but I'm glad they're holding up on that, because we really need to think forward that way with what's healthy for the kids and fire danger. So that's good. But great that you guys are in that. Thanks.
Is this turf for like replacing almost the entire field, like at Baylor, that whole field? Because I know at Calabasas, they're talking about putting turf instead of some of the concrete. We have a lot of concrete on campus, so they plan on replacing some of that concrete with turf. Is that like almost two different things? Okay.
Good question.
Yeah. Great presentation, Evan, love it.
Yeah, thank you both very much. It's so helpful for when we, for us to hear about all this stuff. So thank you. Other updates? Otherwise, we'll see. Everybody should put February 29th on their calendar, and I appreciate this. Sorry that we're a little bit late. Thank you, everybody, for being here by 6 o'clock. I think this worked out well. Huh? What?
Chair, we still have one more item.
Oh, shoosh. I was looking at G. Recommendation for future meeting items, presentations and/or presenters. Oh, my gosh, look at that.
Is that like an open mic moment?
Yeah.
I know we all want to get out of here, but our residents have to understand what waste management provides. So if you live in the Oaks, you have like very specific ways, like when your garage door could be open, when your trash can could be on the curb, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but there's other residents in the community, and things are put on the curb, and waste management will not pick it up. So in my community, which I love, doesn't have a homeowners association. So someone puts something on the curb, and then I'm like, gotta go home and say, dear neighbor, did you know Waste Management has bulky pickup 3 times a year? And then I save the document, I print it, and I leave it at different people, because nobody knows. And our lids of our bins are not updated, so they're not, the lids would say what you can and cannot put in don't match what you can and cannot put in. And so I would very much like Waste Management to come and do a presentation.
So that's been on it. I put that too, because blue bins and black bins are reversed in Woodland Hills and Calabasas, and so that Treya already knows that one, so that's, you're hearing it, we're chiming in. There was somebody today that we said we wanted to get they tore of the dam, the Ringe Dam.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Please add that one. And I do agree about the landfill, Calabasas landfill.
And also, I mean, Las Virgenes Water District, the residents, and we should, if you haven't been, you should check out their native garden. It's tremendous. And like, that's another really cool thing. If like the city, I don't know how people get news, but if residents knew to do that on a weekend or during the weekday, it's so wonderful. It's such a great gift to the community that people don't know about. So I'd like more people to know about it.
You know, Vice Chair, can I just ask for some more info on that with Las Virgenes? Is it specifically, would you like them to come and specifically talk about native gardens and water usage, and how that ties in together?
Yeah.
Okay.
And invite residents to their garden. That'd be amazing.
So that's separate from the Water District tour?
It says Las Virgenes Municipal Water District. They should come and do a presentation and invite us.
Do they come to our forum?
We're very limited on tables this year, so we're stuck at 5, but.
They are tabling. They are coming and
They are
tabling, yes.
tabling.
Cool. I knew it. I knew you already had that covered.
But when I had mentioned it, what I was thinking of was a tour, because 8-10 years ago, we did a tour where we went to. Oh, that was so interesting. Yeah, and the students do it, right? Didn't you guys do a tour of the water, where the smelly part, and then you go to the less smelly part, and then you drink the water or whatever, and then. Yeah.
That's the pure water people? Are you
Yeah.
talking about the pure water? They'll do that. You can call them up, and if you have enough people, they'll do it with you.
Yeah, so
no sweat.
I think it would be cool if we did like a bi-monthly tour. I mean, it seems like there's enough of these, like a tour of the landfill, a tour of the high school. Let's put that one on there and see their garden and see their purple pipes, or there's purple pipes at the golf course. Like, we should be exploring like Gillette Ranch or whatever it is. If we have to get there ourselves, it doesn't have to be something, I don't want this to be burdensome to staff. I'm not looking for staff to be touring. I'm looking for these other organizations that we have relationships with, who frankly are accountable to us to schedule things like this. Does that make sense? Yeah. Any other tours or places or visitors that you guys want to hear from? All right, if you think of any, let Treya know. Now I'm going to adjourn the meeting. All right, the next meeting will be 6 o'clock. We're adjourning this meeting at 8:30, and we will meet again on Tuesday, May 7th at 6 p.m.